What's up, guys? So, wanted to hop on here and give my perspective on the whole Jason Page thing that's going on. I'm sure most of you have heard it covered by somebody, maybe else on YouTube or TikTok or something like that. Maybe you saw the original video posted where Jason Page, who is known in the Pokemon community because he's the individual who sang the theme song for the Pokemon television show, cartoon, right? So that's his claim to fame, and he shows up at a bunch of card shows and all that. And I guess he's got his own deal going on, but where he, I guess, vends at some or that kind of thing. And I've seen stuff from him in the past where I was like, I mean, this guy seems like kind of a little grifter kind of deal, like very strange to me personally. You know, personal opinion here on that. But let's talk about what he did recently or has come under fire for recently, which is his involvement with a trade with some kids. So there was a vendor who posted a video where he kind of did a deal with a couple kids trading some cards for a vintage Japanese fossil Gengar, right? Now, the Gengar is priced at $150. It seems to be in question of what the condition of the card was, and obviously that has an impact on the value of the card. So marked as 150, did a trade for cards that technically I guess have market value at around 75-ish. So the guy posted the content as kind of doing a deal for the kids. So it seemed at a minimum that was an even swap at a minimum, right? Then the kids come back later and tell him that they had traded that card for a Jason Page signed Gem Mint 10 AGS graded um, promo card. Now, the promo card was an AGS promo card. It's a card that was essentially made with like fan art to promote their grading service, right? So a couple things, right? The AGS promo card being graded by AGS, okay, sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing there. It came in at a 10, but okay. But also, the Jason Page signature. So it turns out it really was Jason Page who did the trade with them. And somehow he tried to convince them that the value they were getting was well in their favor, which, let's be honest, like Jason Page's autograph is not really valuable to anybody. So, in his video where he did finally comment on the whole situation, he points to the value of the signature based on the amount that he charges. Like which is crazy to me, right? He charges like $50 for his basic signature, and then like $100 for an actually legible signature. I'm sorry, like the it's not worth that. It's not. And so if you've checked out Opossum Bud's videos, he goes on and pulls up a specific example of some cards that are out there um, on like eBay and that kind of thing being resold with Jason Page's autograph, and they are well below $100, right? So he did that. He's got like an inscription on there. So he tries to play it up as, okay, you're getting the card. So you have the card value, plus it's a graded card. So you get that value of the cost of grading. And then on top of that, you get his signature and there's an inscription. And so he's trying to make out to all these things that point to additional value, which ultimately, no, his signature is not worth that. And I just like I've seen him in other videos in the past, right? When I first got into collecting and watching all this content again, um, I saw him come up and I had no idea who he was. It was some vendor, recording interactions at their table, and Jason Page was trying to trade him his autograph or offered to autograph a card and trade it for an actual card of value, which is crazy, right? And he tried to play it up by saying, well, by signing it, it increases the value exponentially, which is not true. There's cards out there that are signed by him. Like if that were true, they would at least maintain the value based on what he charges, right? But there's cards out there that aren't even selling for like $30, $35 with his signature and inscription on it. So if he's charging 125, you can't claim that that's the value. And I agree with Opossum Bud, who made the point and says it multiple times in his video that just because you charge a certain amount does not mean that thing actually has that value, right? So, his whole spiel about trying to say that they made out just as well, and then, him making this response is crazy. Like, he's doubling down on it. But, I mean, he's going around trying to trade his signature to be able to get things of some sort of value, which, either is personally beneficial for him or he takes it and, tries to resell it or get more money from it or something like that. It's just who does that? It's he is clinging on to the very little bit of fame that he has and trying to manipulate that in the community. And I know he tries to say in his response that he tries to be a good part of the community and does things for the community and all this kind of stuff, but I kind of, based on my um observation in those older videos from vendors where he's trying to trade his signature, try to like sign cards and trade them to vendors for cards they have that actually have just value on their own. And him trying to like take a card and increase its value by signing it. I mean, it's, besides the fact that it's cringy, it's just like, it kind of reeks of desperation to me. Um, and I don't think it's a good look in general. But I liken this kind of like relationship with having him still involved in the community. Okay, you sang the opening song, the theme song for the show. Okay, great. But like, other than that, what your contributions have been, at least recently, always seems to be controversial in terms of like trying to trade something that really has no value for value. And in this case, like it involved kids as well. So it comes off as kind of manipulating and taking advantage of them. So um I didn't like it. I didn't think it was a good look um at all. And my perspective, my point, what I would like to share that's maybe a little different from other content creators out there is, at some point, I think it's okay to just kind of push some people out of the community. Like, we can set a boundary as a community and just be like, look, dude, we're not having any more of this stuff. Like, realistically, your signature's not worth that money. Uh, I don't know who's paying that kind of money, $100+ for his signature, and especially to sign like an actual card. I definitely wouldn't have him sign anything of any value. I mean, anything other than some type of bulk card. But I would never want his signature in the first place. Like his actions, that I think are clearly documented out there, are questionable at best. And I don't think it's good for the community. And, just because, yes, he is, he has a connection to Pokemon and, he's got the attached to nostalgia or whatever, doesn't mean we have to continue to allow him to be a big part of the community. And so, you know, the way I would suggest dealing with it is kind of like, just because you have family members, they are not entitled to have access into your life just because they're family members, right? Like if they don't treat you with respect and respect boundaries and all this kind of stuff. And like I said, if there's no respect there, which I think his actions undermine any type of respect, then why do we continue to entertain having him around? The only times I keep seeing his name come up are for not positive things. They're usually negative. So, at what point do we just move on from Jason Page? Um, I don't think his contributions to Pokemon by just singing the theme song is that critical to like where we need to continue to honor him and his legacy or something like that for all time. Um, I'm sure there could have been 100 other people out there they could have chosen to sing the song. You know what I mean? Like it's really not that unique. Um, so that's my personal opinion. I thought that was something worth sharing in addition to just kind of highlighting what's going on with it. Everybody else in the Pokemon community and content creation has, I'm sure, touched base on it at this point. So you've probably seen it several times. But that's just my perspective, a little different perspective of not just calling them out for doing stuff, but like, why don't we just move on? Like, if we stop giving him attention, people stop paying for his autograph and all this kind of stuff, like, maybe his behaviors will actually change and then he can be a more constructive member in the community and contribute more. Um, but I just don't think he should be doing that kind of stuff. These trades and all that, they seem a little bit scammy to me, and it seems a little underhanded, especially when you start involving kids. Um, so, you know, take my opinion for what it's worth. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and we'll catch you next time.